don't want anything to warp. Okay, and then there's all right, so the F4, F3 Wildcat early. So this would have not folding wings. They didn't add folding wings to the Wildcat until I think the F4, F4. F4, F3 fixed. I think Roy Grumman didn't actually come up with that mechanism until the Navy came to him and said, we need to get more airplanes on our carriers. How can you help us? And he took a paper clip and one of those rubber erasers, the long elongated rubber eraser with the wedges on it, and he cut it in half, and he took a paper clip and he hinged the eraser together such that he could rotate and then fold back. Just using the paper clip. He came up with that with a paper clip and an eraser. Frickin' MacGyver. And that became the standard the standard Grumman folding wing mechanism for virtually all of his airplanes. The Avenger had it, the Wildcat and Hellcat. I mean, just everything had it. And then if it didn't have the folding and folding back, they just folded straight up. But because he could fold them up and then back, it just made that much more room, not only from side to side, but headroom, so they could jam these things down under the deck without having to worry about dinging the wings on anything and damaging the airplanes at all. They could just fold the wings up and back and then roll them around like a car, So it was really genius. Anyway, Grumman. And then, what do we have here? The P-47 T Thunderbolt. This is a big one too. So, as I said, I got this one when I was working on the Balsa Gillo jug, and it was for that, all the reasons I just stipulated. It was so that I could see in detail what the cockpit sidewall should look like, what the main landing gear bay interior should look like. Wanted to know how the gun bays and the gun ports. Now, I still haven't added those to that big P-47, so I don't know that I will at all now. I'll probably just stencil them on. But here are the drop tanks. So this kit includes the pancake tank. It includes the cellulite tanks, the ones that were made of paper mache. These are the ones that the British developed to extend the range on their aircraft, being disposable and just being made of basically pressed paper. They didn't cost anything. So this translated really well to the P-47, which could carry external fuel from the beginning. I need to remind everyone that when somebody tells you the P-47 had no range, you just laugh in their face, because that's not true. It was a long-range bomber escort fighter plane. It was designed purposely to escort bombers over long ranges. That's why it was made. That's how it was made. That's what it was built for, and that's what it was designed for. It was the bomber mafia that decided they didn't need fighter escorts, that their fantastic B-17s could fly long range unescorted into enemy territory because they had enough firepower and they were going to fly defensively in the box formations, and that they, it was either LeMay or it was the other guy, Hap Arnold. I can't remember which of those two guys was the bomber mafia. I think it was LeMay. And they decided they didn't need fight. It wasn't that they didn't have, when the story later was that we didn't have a long-range bomber escort aircraft until the P-51, but that's not the truth. P-47 was purposely built. They just didn't think. They decided through hubris that they didn't need fighter escort, and they weren't going to be told otherwise. In fact, it was Chenault and a handful of his guys that got drummed out of the Army Air Corps because they were railing at the bomber mafia that you need fighters. You need fighter escorts for any long-range bomber missions you fly. You cannot fly unescorted bombers. You can't do it. And that's why Chenault ended up leaving the Army Air Corps and going and fighting in China, and how the AVG was born. And that's actually a good thing. Sometimes stuff doesn't work out, but it's not always a bad thing when things don't work out. Just remember that. Something happens, you lose your job, or something comes up and it feels like a negative in the moment. It's like, oh, yeah, what am I going to do now? 9 times out of 10, you had a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and you find out that the thing that happened that you thought was horrible was actually just exactly the right thing that needed to happen. Don't ask me how or why. That's just the way it is. We're not meant to know. So don't lose confidence or faith or hope when something goes wrong. Just stick with the plan. Just keep rolling. That's what I do. Right or wrong or indifferent, that's what I do. So just know that things work out in the end. Always have, and they always will. Well, they generally have. And they usually will. Can't speak like absolutes. There's no absolutes. What am I trying to say? Anyway, that's our video. That's everything that I have sitting over here waiting to be built. Brings me back to another topic we've had on the model building forums time and time again. Model kits come off the production assembly line. No one knows where they're going to end up. A kit could end up in a collector pile and then being traded by collectors to other collectors, and it's never open. The box isn't even opened. It stays factory sealed because that's the only way it's worth $1. So they got those kits. And then the other ones come off, and maybe the kids buy them, or the first-time modeler buys one of those, and man, it just gets covered in glue and tortured, spray painted 16 colors, and ends up in a trash can somewhere. Then you got the ones that are built up and they end up in shows. They win the IPMS show or something, and then so they're blue ribbon winners. And then some of them, show up on a guy's desk in a guy's shed in a guy's backyard, on a guy's YouTube channel. And then there's those, and we don't know where they end up. Some of them are hanging in the house, some are hanging over my head right now, and some of them are, well, they are in the trash can because they fell, or because I didn't like them. Maybe they didn't turn out the way I wanted. I don't know. Yeah. You just don't know. So, and it's the same with everything, So, anyway, it's just a thing that comes up every once in a while. Born to do what? Yeah, nobody knows. But all these kits are made. And somebody engineered them, and a bunch of guys went to work and punched a clock and started making parts and sticking them in boxes and wrapping them up on pallets and shipping them to hobby stores, where a guy who spent his life savings to open a store decided he'd hire a couple of employees, put a few people to work, and sell some model kits to keep some other fellers out of trouble and keep them out of jail and keep them from drinking too much on a Saturday night. And then that guy, he starts building them, and his kids, they're hanging up in the kids' room, and the kid grows up thinking, I love airplanes. I had one of those hanging in I'm going to go down to the airport tomorrow and just hang out in the restaurant and watch the airplanes take off. Next thing you know, that kid is getting a pilot license and, maybe buying an airplane, and maybe he's flying around for CAL FIRE, and maybe he's out there, putting out forest fires in his airplane and in his frickin', fire bomber. So you just don't know, is what I'm saying. Anyway, everybody have a great day. Thanks for viewing the channel. Thanks for subscribing to the channel if you have. And thanks for commenting if you have. And you don't have to, right? I'm jiggling the camera. You don't have to do that stuff. I appreciate it. If somebody comes along and says something, positive, encouraging, or makes a criticism and says, well, I would do it this way or that way. I mean, if it's helpful, right? As long as everything's provided on that side of things. This is a family channel. I'm a grandpa, for Christ's sake. I do this for fun because it is for me. I'm an aviation enthusiast. I'm an airplane nut. I guess that's what it is. And I also like to, do things with my hands like this. I'm putting things together. I'm making things. I'm painting them, right? And I'm scraping them, sanding them. I'm doing stuff with these guys. Otherwise, what are they doing? They're doing a keyboard? What does that get you? I don't know. What does it get you? But if you're making something, well, you're making something out of yourself. You're making something out of other stuff, too. You're making something out of the stuff that other people went to work and put in a box and made. for us to enjoy. So anyway, I really this is the most talking I've done probably in weeks. And anyway, everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching the channel.